The shooting in Ferguson has prompted some police chiefs to evaluate training procedures. Coming up, we'll talk with Maplewood Police Chief Paul Schnell about his plans for training and where the department is headed as we launch into 2015.
Now grab your scuba gear as we go and take you underwater as the police plunge for special athletes.
Hello, welcome to this edition of Your Police Report. I'm Carrie Crotty.
And I'm Lon Bakey. I was among a team of fellow officers taking the plunge to raise money for special athletes. Our cameras take you below the water of YPR Lake. Take a look.
Our chilly Friday morning right now, and you get to see the plunge site from its initial stages, and it's kind of interesting, like you said, when you guys come out tomorrow and you actually see kind of the carnival atmosphere that's in the air. It's a good contrast as to how this all gets set up. I mean, you see the barren ice right now. By tomorrow when the decking is put up and you see the plunge site set up, you see the bear inflated, you see the warming tunnel all inflated, you kind of get a whole new perspective on it. This has always been the first plunge of the polar plunge season for Special Olympics, and it's just a good kickoff for us to start looking at the number of plungers who are registered online as of this morning. I mean, 1,400 plungers for the YPR plunge alone. Already donations collected online is at almost $200,000.
Come on out and get cold and wet.
So thankful and so proud of our law enforcement people. Not only do they put their life on the line every day, but you see them out here on days when normally they would take off or do whatever, and they are out doing this for us. And, you know, shoot, my hats are off to them always.
How are ya?
Enforcement are brave. They're here year after year taking the plunge. But what about the rest of the people? Are they brave too, or simply crazy?
We are the number one in the state. So we're finally going to get a sighting. I'm not going in, so I think she's crazy. Come on.
superheroes.
Remember, you can check out the story again and again by visiting us on the web.
Law enforcement students spend some time in class knitting hats for kids in need. We brought you that story last year, but in our next story,
The senior high students deliver those hats and meet the kindergarten pen pals for the first time.
It was a big day for a class of senior law enforcement students,
There she is. You're with Xander.
but an even bigger one for kindergartners coming face to face with their bigger buddies.
This is Mariah. She goes to Webster Elementary.
Students from Northeast Metro 916 have been corresponding with these kindergartners for several months, meeting them today for the first time.
Bella, you're with Abby.
It was part of a class project, a way to give back to those in need. They brought over 200 pounds of food, 465 hats, and volumes of life lessons.
It's basically a little story about, not eating too many cookies or else you get a tummy ache. We're supposed to have a little lesson in there.
Daniel Leonard shared with his pal the importance of sharing.
A young girl has no Legos, and she feels bad about it. And a boy in the class sees that she feels bad and gives her Legos, and they're friends forever.
Like most younger children, they look up to older ones.
We know the ropes a little bit, and we could pass some information on to them to get them going. Try and be good role models to them, get them off on a good track.
But the kindergartners weren't the only ones getting schooled.
A tootie-ta, a tootie-ta, a tootie-ta-ta.
They reminded their senior buddies what it's like to be a kid again.
well, it looks like the kindergartners and the seniors really enjoyed meeting each other, and the kindergartners looked up to the seniors.
They did, and I think in this case it wasn't just because they were so much taller than the kindergartners.
Right.
They really did look up to them.
Right?
We are going to take a break, but when we come back,
Maplewood Police Chief Paul Schnell joins us.
So, Malcolm, you do know that energy savers last 6 times longer than ordinary light bulbs.
This isn't my room. It's Baron Davis's.
Baron Davis, the basketball player? This is his room?
Yep.
Interesting, because we have Baron Davis right here. Baron, do you live here?
No.
I don't mean that, Baron Davis.
Millions of kids are using their energy wisely. What's your excuse?
Police Chief Paul Schnell was recently featured on Minnesota Public Radio. We're going to talk about that, plus a whole lot more with Chief Schnell. Welcome.
welcome, Chief.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Now, you've been here about a year and a half. How has it been going?
Well, that question might be better asked of the people who I work with as opposed to me. I think it's been going good. I mean, there's been a lot of changes, which I'm sure we'll want to talk about, but a lot has happened and a lot of good things. But really, I think more than anything, we're just kind of maximizing the strengths of a department that really had a lot going for it when I came here.
What are some of the changes and projects you've undertaken?
We've done a lot around technology, and one of the things that we did was we implemented smartphones. Our officers are all deployed with smartphones because we felt it was important that they operate in a mobile environment. The squad car is their office. That's where they do a lot of their work. And the smartphones give them a chance to be able to, make their calls and be accessible to people, but in addition to email and those sorts of things. We required business cards to be distributed. When we close a case because we are unable to move the investigation further, the officers now send letters of case closure to victims or people reporting those crimes. We've made some recent changes and adjustments to our schedule, which we think will maximize our overall strength on the street, provide us with some flexibility to give people time off and those sorts of important things. And but ultimately, I think at the end of the day, it will result in better service for the community.
You've been chief for Hastings right before you came to Maplewood. How is that different?
Maplewood as a first-ring suburb is a busier city. I mean, we face some some more urban type challenges. Certainly Hastings had is the challenges that it faced, but here some of the issues we're facing are more urban. We have far more kind of freeway and kind of larger roadways that pass through Maplewood. We have some large corporations, specifically 3M and the mall, which are characteristics that you didn't find in a community like Hastings. So it's certainly bigger, and there's a whole lot more going on. But at the end of the day, I think policing is policing, no matter how big or how small.
Recent events in policing, people are calling for more transparency. What exactly does that mean, and how do you accomplish that?
Well, I think some of the things that we've put in place are in fact efforts to try and be more transparent. Our desire, our willingness to communicate with people, be more accessible, to have our email addresses and phone numbers to that cell phone on the website, are things that ultimately make us make it easier for people to connect with us, and that's really what this is about. At the same time, given the fact that our communities are becoming more diverse, and I don't care if you're in Greater Minnesota or Maplewood or St. Paul, the reality, and I think as Officer, as Lam would know well, working in a school, you see the changing demographics of the community in a small microcosm. And I think we need to be cognizant of that, and we need to make sure that the policing services that we provide, that there's adequate levels of public trust that exist for all members of the community. And I think over the course of time and throughout our history, there have been communities, especially communities that have, whether they're immigrant or African American communities, have struggled in many cases with policing and in terms of developing and maintaining really good relationships. And I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're doing everything we can to try and create those open lines of communication to ensure that we're being responsive. Because as you both know, our work can change in the blink of an eye. And we want our officers to be able to respond to those things, but we need to make sure that the community has adequate levels of trust in us, that the decisions that we make are made for the right reasons.
Sure.
Now, you recently did a Minnesota Public Radio interview, and you talked about some training protocols. I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on what you had talked about on the show.
Well, one of the things that I thought when I came here, and I still believe, is that Maplewood Police Department has a really exceptional training protocol and really great group of trainers on firearms use, on our use of force training, and I think really second to none. And I've been in large agencies, St. Paul in the past, and I think really Maplewood has it going on in that front. But one of the things that came out of things like Ferguson and New York was, are we doing everything we can? Since the majority of our work is really about how we communicate with people and trying to get compliance from people, are we doing everything we can to make sure that we're training in that as much as we are in our use of force, the tactics around use of force, and deadly force option of firearms? And so we decided that we really wanted to try and increase that training. And so we recently sent several of our officers to kind of a nationally known verbal judo for law enforcement, which really is about de-escalation. Really is about clear and concise communication. And they will come back and teach that to all the members of our department. And what we think is really unique about that is we don't want that to be a single class. Much like when our officers are doing training at the range, and you may do handcuffing and firearms on the same training day, what we now want to do is add verbal judo, our kind of more traditional tactic stuff, whether it's handcuffing or escort holds or takedowns or whatever it may be, and then firearms. So that verbal is a part of our regular ongoing training, because we think that by doing that, ultimately we're making sure that we're integrating all these skills and they aren't compartmentalized, so that when we respond to something, we have practiced that hopefully when we get into the field and face an encounter or situation.
Very good. What are your plans for 2015?
Well, I think we've made a lot of the organizational changes that I think are well underway. We have some big changes coming on our dispatch side, the computer-aided dispatch. We have records system that's going to be a big challenge for all of us. It's a new system. But I think at the end of the day, what we really want to focus on in 2015 is the organization stuff is well built and we're solid, is really focusing on quality, and it's that responsiveness. So now we're doing more neighborhood-based policing efforts, and so it's how do we better connect and focus more on the quality of our problem solving and our policing outcomes.
Now I understand that our fire and police station on the south end has gotten a lot of recognition for going green. I'm assuming that doesn't mean it's painted green.
No, it's not green.
Good.
But I think it is getting awards and getting recognition for meeting the green building codes, which means that things like water conservation, some of electric stuff in the building, lighting systems are really built upon the principles of renewability and trying to reduce a cost over the long haul. And so I think it's a great investment on the part of the city to try and make sure that we're being effective in terms of the use of these facilities, which are going to be in use for probably 50 to 100 years. Yep. That we do everything we can to make sure that we're being as effective and efficient and responsible as possible.
In 2014, you did a citizen survey, and how did that come out?
We finished the survey in late fall of 14, and just have had the chance to start to really go through that here in the early part of January. And I think what we, more than anything, our community and people feel that the community is safe, and I think that matches the data. But the reality is that it was clear that we have some work to do. They want to see the police being more proactive. They want to see us out there. Still, traffic becomes a major concern. It's the stop sign. It's the cars that are speeding past my home and my kids are playing in the yard. Those are the things that people are saying they really want to address. Certainly they want to deal with the bigger kind of crime issues that we and all communities face. But things like theft from auto, which we all know can strike every community, large and small, anywhere in the state or country, is a great problem along with traffic. So we're really hoping that one of the ways that we address some of the feedback that we got through that survey is through the neighborhood base and better connecting our officers in those neighborhoods that they're working.
Right.
Well, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
And I want to thank you for having me in.
Thank you much, Chief.
Thank you. The Maplewood Fire and Police South Station has been internationally recognized for going green.
Let's take a look as we go to break.
We're here at the grand opening of the new South Station. Great combination of police and fire effort coming together, bringing public safety services right down to the South Maplewood. So it's a great day for Maplewood, great day in particular for the south end. The facility itself, I think, is really been designed well to accommodate both the needs of the police, fire, and EMS. There will be 2 squads based out of this station. Cops will start and end their shifts here and have the full capabilities of connection to the main police headquarters at City Hall. So the new substation really helps support and coincides with our plan to base officers more regularly in fixed neighborhoods. Right now, officers rotate on a day-to-day basis to different areas of the city. Beginning in January, officers will be stationed either in the south or the north ends of the city. Officers are looking forward to starting and being stationed down here. What we believe is that this will help us be more problem-oriented and focused on issues and get to know the community better. So the police fire facility makes a big difference in helping us achieve that goal. So it's a great day.
Thank you everyone for coming this morning for the ribbon cutting of the new South Fire Station and South Police Substation.
All right, ready? 1, nice and tall, huh? 3,
Welcome back. The results are in for extra DWI patrols during the holidays. Over 2,500 people were arrested for drunk driving in Minnesota between November 26th and December 31st. This is about 100 more arrests than last year.
In Freeborn County, a woman had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.45, which is more than 5 times the legal limit. She was found passed out in her car with the engine running, and she was in the Minnesota State Troopers' driveway. Now, if that isn't a reason to quit drinking and driving, I don't know what is.
You would think. Check out this dash cam video showing 2 state trooper cars being hit during the winter storm in January. It's a good reminder for people to slow down during winter conditions.
Get away from them.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even consider that part.
Yeah.
Oh. Are you okay? 196 Metro. I just got hit. I've got a passenger in the back. Start me medics. There's going to be more crashes here.
Make sure to change lanes if you're approaching a police car. Stay off your cell phone, pay attention, and of course, wear your seatbelt.
February marks the celebration of sweethearts, but there's really one heart you should be focused on, and that's your own.
About 600,000 people die of heart disease in the United States every year. That's about 1 in every 4 deaths. Knowing the signs can save your life.
I had a feeling there was something wrong with my heart, but I wouldn't have believed that I was actually having a heart attack.
In 2009, Jennifer Marine, then 38, on her way home from a ski trip with their parents and husband, pulled into a Wyoming truck stop after blizzard conditions caused highways to close. And that's when she says she felt extreme pressure in her chest, like elephants sitting on top of her.
I said, guys, I think something's wrong with me. My heart's pounding, I have this pressure.
As luck would have it, there was a hospital in town. The doctor did blood tests and suggested she stay overnight. Since the highways were closed, Jennifer stayed, which turned out to be a blessing. Tests revealed she'd suffered a heart attack. She was flown to a bigger hospital with a cardiac unit where doctors put 4 stents to repair a torn artery.
At first, I thought, why did this happen to me? Why do I have to have a heart attack? 38, this isn't right. Then I'm told not to have kids after that, and there seemed to be a fair amount of loss. And then one day I thought, well, why not me? I mean, these things happen to anyone. And that was a pretty cool revelation, just to think, well, it's okay. I mean, life goes on.
About a month after Jennifer returned home, she woke up one morning with those overwhelming chest pains and anxiety once again. Her torn artery from the heart attack had torn even further, and another stent was administered. That's when doctors discovered she had something called SCAD, sudden coronary artery dissection. After getting a second opinion at the Mayo Clinic, doctors also diagnosed her with fibromuscular dysplasia, a condition that makes the arteries weak, thin, and bumpy, like a string of beads.
So it was really overwhelming and extremely scary, because I just felt so alone and so like a landmine. I mean, I felt like my body was just gonna explode.
But Jennifer, with support from her family, went on with life and continued working. And then, just days after celebrating 1 year since her heart attack, that same torn artery tore even more, and she had a 6th stent put in.
Not only did it make me realize that all the days are precious, but I have a responsibility to do something with my life.
And so Jennifer went to work. She started a Facebook page for SCAD survivors and contacted the American Heart Association about volunteering. The organization's mission is to educate women on heart disease and risk factors.
Heart disease is a broad range term, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of things encompass heart disease. Diabetes, high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, where your arteries are clogged, peripheral arterial disease, where you have circulation problems in your legs, stroke, high blood pressure. All of these things are all part of heart disease.
Warmke says heart disease kills more women than the next 5 causes of death combined, including all forms of cancer. It's also largely preventable.
You know, we remind women that too often we put ourselves last. You know, we're taking care of our husbands, our dogs, our kids, our parents, and we're like, I'll get to myself later. I'll do exercise next week. I gotta do laundry. I gotta go grocery shopping. I gotta pick the kids up, But you won't be able to do any of those things. You won't be able to take care of your family if you're not there for them, if you don't take care of yourself.
The American Heart Association has helped save over 600,000 lives, and their Go Red campaigns have raised more than $300 million for research and education.
It's one of those things you think, oh, heart disease isn't in my family, and then when you stop and think about it, it is. It really touches you and it touches everyone in some way. There's usually somebody in your family or your friends that's been affected, or soon enough they will be.
Jennifer Marine is healthy and working on a memoir titled I Lived. And despite her difficult journey, she says she wouldn't have it any other way.
You know, I don't know if I could change the story. I don't know if I would.
Check out these sites for more information.
With all the heavy debate about healthcare in the United States, it's refreshing to have some good news with a Maplewood connection.
A broken system, and there's a lot of work to be done, and that's what these organizations are doing, are learning from each other.
At a time when the public's perception of the U.S. healthcare system is mediocre at best, 55 organizations from across the U.S. and Canada are working on ways to improve healthcare for patients.
The most important person in this whole process is the patient/customer, and that's what's driving all of our work, is what's best for the patient.
A 2014 Gallup poll shows a majority of Americans consider the quality of healthcare to be somewhere between good and fair. But Health East is working to improve patient care through lean principles. First coined by Toyota's business model, industries and services in every field are using the model to maximize value to customers.
So our objective when we started
The 2-day conference held at St. Joseph's Hospital in downtown St. Paul focused on a variety of ways to improve care. One example includes reducing the time it takes to notify cardiac patients of test results. By applying lean principles, they were able to improve by 65%.
It's good news for the patients, and it's also good news for the people who provide care, because they really care for the patients and they are in healthcare in order to really provide this service. And it is really satisfying to know that you can make a bigger difference in the life of everybody.
Patients in the cardiac unit say they're impressed with the care they've received at St. Joseph's.
I was just about dead, and they got me back. So I thought I'd waste my time coming and we're exercising to keep me healthy.
Steve Olson had bypass surgery 4 months ago, and since being released, he continues to visit the cardiac unit for regular workouts.
I'm not getting anywhere, but I'm making good time.
Patients like Dick Shand have been participating in Phase 3 since 2000 when he had a heart attack in the ER.
The nurses have all been here long term, and some of the guys come and go. Some of the guys that didn't exercise, unfortunately, we visit them in the funeral homes. They quit exercise and just take the pills. That doesn't work. You have to do both.
Since Health East began its Lean Principles journey 2 years ago, they've implemented 51,000 new ideas and plan to continue ways to bring the best value to patients.
That wraps up this edition of Your Police Report. I'm Lon Bakey.
And I'm Carrie Crotty. Make sure to check us out online, on YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks for watching.